Should you have a 401k or a Roth IRA? This is one of the top questions that I get, and it's really asking multiple different things. So today, I'm going to help you understand exactly what this question is asking and the difference between your retirement accounts and the tax treatment. Welcome new and returning money buddies. I'm your host, Skylar Fleming, and today we're going to go through and help you understand what a 401k is, a 457b, an IRA, taxable brokerage account, and all of those different investing accounts. And you're going to walk away with an understanding of the different tax treatments that we get with all these different account types. Well, today I'm going to help you understand both what the Roth or traditional piece at the beginning means and what the account type at the end means. You're going to walk away from today's episode with a great understanding of what account type you're investing into and how they actually work when it comes to taxes. And honestly, a large bulk of my CFP education went into understanding all these different retirement accounts. And I'm not going to dump all of that on you today because there's way too much that you don't need to know. What I'm going to do is give you exactly what you do need to make a confident decision without overwhelming yourself, because honestly, some of that overwhelming stuff doesn't change your outcome anyways. And while I know a lot about these retirement accounts, I'm going to help you understand the different options and what it actually means to you and how you can actually utilize them. And you're also going to love today's case study. But let's get into teaching you about these different retirement accounts and what exactly Roth and traditional really is. So I want to start out today's teachings by referencing my guide and the retirement planning section within it. So if you head over to fp4ya.com/guide and click on retirement planning at the top, we're first going to talk about Coast FI. And I want to talk about the Coast FI calculator here because it's something you need to be aware of as you're investing in your early years, while you're early in your career and you're still young. Because it's important to start saving for retirement before any of your other goals because you have such a long time to save for it. So if you can get $50,000 or $100,000 into these retirement accounts, you might just be completely fine with your retirement situation and then be able to easily save for everything else instead of having to balance so many competing priorities. And that's where Coast Financial Independence comes in. The idea is simple. You save your money early on, and the compound growth alone carries your balance to your retirement goal without you ever having to add another dollar potentially. You can potentially just coast to retirement. So check out my YouTube video down in the show notes where I walk through how to calculate your Coast FI number. And of course, the calculator can be found on my free guide at fp4ya.com/guide. And then you can figure out if you're Coast FI yet or not. And as a financial planner, one of the most exciting conversations I get to have with young adults like you listening is about compound growth. Time in the market is your greatest superpower when you're young. And this Coast Financial Independence concept is one of the best ways to actually see what that means and to actually visualize what your youth means when it comes to saving for retirement. And also from the guide, I do have a couple key concepts and what you actually need to know. And the guide is going to talk about a lot of the same things that we're going to talk about today. So go check out the guide, please. It'll give you a great background into what we're going to talk about. The guide itself covers traditional versus Roth, employer matches, and why it is so important to start early. One of my favorite lines from the guide about starting early says that every year you delay retirement savings, it costs you compound growth. It's not just 1 year's worth of returns, but all the returns that those returns would have generated. So it's not just the $7,000 that you didn't put into your IRA this year. It's the $7,000 and all the returns you've made on it, and all the returns that those returns would have made, and so forth. Like this compounding could continue going on, and it could be returns on returns on returns on returns. So make sure you're getting your retirement savings going early. And when you get to that Coast Financial Independence point, it can be a whole lot easier to save for any of your other goals. But the next article I want to talk about comes from Schwab, and it's common types of retirement plans and other ways to save. I'm going to name off a bunch of accounts here just so that you know if you've heard this term at your workplace, because maybe you're not in a conventional employer. Maybe it's a small business. Maybe it's a governmental employer. Maybe it's a nonprofit. There's a lot of different retirement accounts out there, so I'm going to go through and name a bunch of them. Really, any size company could have a 401k. Governments, schools, or nonprofits could have a thrift savings plan, a 457b, a 403b, and a small business or someone who's self-employed could have a simple IRA, a SEP or SEP IRA, or a solo 401k. And outside of those retirement plans, you could also save for retirement into an IRA, individual retirement account, into a brokerage account, or even potentially an HSA. And while this account is for health savings, it could be used for retirement way down the road. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about the HSA because I have a previous podcast episode about free healthcare with an HSA, so make sure you go check that one out. But let's talk about some of the most common accounts. A 401k. Well, a 401k is an employer-sponsored plan, and it's the most common type of retirement plan out there. But small details can change from company to company, so the thing to look for here to understand your plan is to review the summary plan description within your 401k account. The things to look out for with a 401k are things like tax benefits, traditional versus Roth, which we will talk about today. There's employer matching, there's high contribution limits, and it's easy to automate. It's likely that you've all heard about a 401k, so I'm not going to spend too much time here. They're pretty simple and easy to understand, but make sure you read your summary plan description so that you can understand it. Because every company that has a 401k is going to have this summary plan description. It's going to provide you with all the information you need to know to get a good grasp so that you know the tax benefits, the employer matching, and that you're making sure to take advantage of all of that. The next one that you might have heard of is a thrift savings plan, or a TSP, and it's kind of the government's version of a 401k. Has a lot of the same benefits, and it's going to have the same document that's going to tell you all about it. And all these different account types are going to have documents within them to help you understand how they work. It's pretty simple though. You put money into the account, it grows for retirement time. There's a tax benefit, and then there's ways to get the money out. That's pretty much how all of these work. And the next one I want to mention is a 457B. This 457B is generally offered to state and local government and public service employees. There's still tax benefits. There's also no early withdrawal penalty. There's some additional contribution limits near retirement. You can fund it at the same time as a 401k, which is an awesome benefit if you have both available. And again, there's easy automation. And I want to keep moving through these account types, so we're just going to keep going here. But just know that all these different account types are for different types of employees throughout our economy. Whether it's a corporate employee, a local government employee, or a nonprofit employee, or someone who's self-employed, there's an account type that's going to get you the same tax benefits for everyone. The next one is a 403B. A 403B plan is offered to nonprofit workers who have careers in non-government jobs, such as a private or public school teacher, workers with a 501c3 charity, hospitals, and some ministers. Again, there's tax benefits, a special catch-up provision after 15 years of service, and you can fund it simultaneously with a 457B. And again, easy automation. This easy automation comes through payroll deductions. It allows you to take it straight from your paycheck right into the account and you never see it. That makes it so easy and so simple to save for retirement. The next one is a simple IRA, stands for Savings Incentive Match Plan for Employees. Simple, right? And it's meant to be simple for a small business with 100 or fewer employees. Again, tax benefits and employer matching. A SEP IRA, or Simplified Employee Pension, is an IRA that's available for self-employed individuals, freelancers, or small businesses. There's some flexibility with annual contributions here. The employer is the only one that can contribute, and there are, of course, tax benefits. And I got a couple more here, but the next one is a solo 401k. This is available for self-employed individuals and owner-only businesses who want to make savings towards their retirement. There's a high contribution limit, there's tax benefits, and they're low cost and flexible. And now these last two you've likely heard of, an individual retirement account, or IRA. These are available to anyone with earned income and their spouses. Even if your spouse isn't making money, if you file jointly on your taxes, you can both contribute to IRAs potentially. There are limits, of course, make sure you look those up, but there's tax benefits, there's no income limits to open the account. Of course, deducting the traditional contributions or making Roth contributions do have income limits, so make sure you look those up. And there's a wide range of investments. You can really invest in anything that's available on the stock market through Fidelity, Vanguard, Schwab, whatever company of choice that you open these accounts with, you're going to have a wide range of investments. And same goes for our next one, the brokerage account. A brokerage account is used for general savings and investing. There are tax benefits, and they can be very good. There's no income or contribution limits. It's easy to access. There's no required minimum distributions at retirement. And there's a wide range of investments. And I think people often overlook a brokerage account as a potential retirement account. Your brokerage account is going to be the account that gets you from quitting your job to any sort of withdrawal limitations that your normal retirement accounts might have. And just know that the brokerage account might have the best benefits of all. There's tax benefits. The money is yours at any time. There's no limits. There's no required minimum distributions. So don't overlook a brokerage account. I've done a lot of episodes about how good these are and made several YouTube videos about capital gain harvesting and the other benefits. So be sure to go check those out. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos covering these fantastic accounts. The next article that you'll find in the show notes is a simple informational page from the IRS of types of retirement accounts. I just wanted to link this so that if you wanted to view the official IRS information about retirement accounts, it's there. It's a great read if you're struggling to fall asleep, but it can be a great resource to potentially feed into your AI chatbot of choice and have it answer any questions that you might have as a search tool directly against the IRS's data. And next, I want to talk about Roth versus traditional. So this next article comes from NerdWallet. It's titled Roth 401k versus 401k. Which account is better for you? Quote, the main difference between a Roth 401k and a traditional 401k is their tax treatment. With a Roth 401k, contributions come out of your paycheck after taxes, but the distributions in retirement are tax-free. In a traditional 401k plan, contributions come directly from your paycheck before taxes, taxable income for that year, but withdrawals are taxed in retirement. It all has to do with taxes. Know that Roth and traditional are a tax status. Everything else after the word Roth or traditional is just the account vehicle that the money sits in. And this next quote comes from the NerdWallet page, and it says, use the calculator to compare the after-tax balance of your retirement savings in a Roth 401k and a traditional 401k under varying scenarios. A calculator can be super helpful when it comes to making the decision of Roth or traditional. If you're starting out in a very low tax bracket, then a Roth account could be a great way to get started because you're going to pay a low amount of taxes on the money now and use that money tax-free down the road. It's a pretty common explanation you'll hear people give, but if you're on the fence or your tax bracket's starting to climb up there, it is fantastic to run your numbers through a calculator so that you can actually understand where you need to put your retirement savings. Now, I have one more thing that I want to cover real quick here because you may hear this mentioned with your retirement plan, and then I'm going to get to the question that everyone asks when they're getting started. Should I have a 401k or a Roth IRA? We're going to talk about that in just a second. But first, I want to mention an after-tax contribution to your 401k. Some of you may be getting your first job at a big company, and you're hearing this option of a traditional versus Roth, and then they say, oh, you can make after-tax contributions to a 401k. I have an article from Empower linked below that talks about the differences, but some of the things I want to mention is that after-tax contribution, it's similar to a brokerage account within your 401k. It has an even a higher contribution limit, and you'll end up being taxed on the growth, just like a taxable brokerage account. And not everyone's going to have this option, but I wanted to mention it just to make sure to cover it since we're talking about retirement accounts and different tax options. So if you hear someone mention after tax, just think brokerage account, and then you'll have a good idea of how to get started with this account. But there are a lot of options when it comes to this account, whether it's rolling over the money, doing some backdoor stuff with IRAs, and just think of it to get started as a brokerage account. And then as you're putting money into it, then you can begin thinking about how to use it optimally. But once you start building your income and making enough money and you're maxing out all these different accounts, that's when you can start looking at this after-tax account. It can be a great place to put money, but know that it doesn't need to be something that you're doing when you're just getting started. Stick with a 401k contribution into your traditional or Roth 401k and your IRA contributions and your HSA contributions. That's a great place to get started. But now comes the big question that everyone asks when they're just getting started saving for retirement. Everyone at some point will ask, should I have a 401k or a Roth IRA? And now let's explain why these are different. I'm going to tell a story, and we're going to think about this in terms of farming. You plant seeds in the spring and they grow all season long. Eventually, you need to harvest the crop in the fall. Somewhere in the process, the government is going to tax you. So the only question is when they tax you. Is it on the seed or the harvest? With a traditional account or a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, you plant the seeds tax-free. There's no tax on the way in when they're being planted, but when the harvest comes, you pay taxes on everything you harvest, the original seeds and every bit of growth that came from them. And here's the way to relate this to you. The seed or money that you plant at age 25 will not look like the seed at age 65. It's going to be a full-grown crop worth a lot more than when you put it in the ground. And the government is going to tax all of it that comes out of the ground. And now with a Roth account, you pay taxes on the seed before it ever goes in the ground. And yeah, that stings a little up front, but everything that grows from 25 to 65 is completely tax-free. The IRS takes none of that growth. And now for someone in their 20s or 30s, your seeds or money are at a small tax rate right now, and it may never be this small again. So paying taxes on a tiny seed at a little bit of a lower rate and then letting it grow for decades can be the better deal. And now here's where people get confused. The farm is the account type. Okay, you have traditional versus Roth, which tells you when it's being taxed, but your account type is your 401k, your IRA, your 457b, your TSP. Those are all different farms or different accounts. Some farms have a bigger plot. Like a 401k farm allows you to plant a lot more seeds than your IRA farm, meaning your contribution limit to the 401k is going to be a whole lot higher than your IRA. And some of these farms come with bonuses, like an employer match. Your 401k or 403b could have a match where your employer plants whatever you planted as well into your account, and it'll grow for you as well over time. Some have unique rules that you need to learn about as you get ready to pull money out. But the important thing to understand is that the farm or account type does not determine whether you pay taxes on the seed or the harvest. That has to do with whether it's a Roth or traditional version of the account. So when you go to ask, should I have a 401k or a Roth IRA? You should first start by saying, should I contribute to a traditional or Roth account? And then you can begin to look at, should I put it into my 401k or my IRA? They are different questions. If you're asking about a 401k versus a Roth IRA, you have to nail down the tax status that you want for your money and then the account. So when you get at your new job or you're going to go to HR next week and fill out some paperwork about your retirement options, start with the first question. Do I want to pay taxes on the money now, or do I want to pay taxes on the money later? Answer that first, and then you can begin to figure out which farm or account type fits your situation best. And I really hope that story and explanation really helped you understand what the question, should I have a 401k or Roth IRA, is really asking. And I hope to help you understand how you can get started with saving for retirement and the types of questions you should be asking yourself. Because next up, we have a case study, and you're going to love this one. You're going to love today's case study with Lisa, so let's get into it. Let's introduce you to today's case study. Lisa is a 26-year-old accountant living in Charlotte, and she graduated about 4 years ago and landed a solid salaried position for about $68,000 a year. She has a small amount of student loan debt that she's chipping away at and has been pretty responsible with her money overall. She does a budget, is avoiding lifestyle creep, and has a real desire to get things right financially, but she doesn't always know what those things that she needs to get right are. So when Lisa started her job, her HR department handed her that stack of paperwork that we've all seen and told her that she needed to make a decision about her retirement accounts and sign everything. She saw a 401k on the paperwork and it mentioned a Roth IRA, so she assumed they were the same things, just two different names for the same thing. So she figured she needed to pick one, so she asked a coworker what they picked, and they mentioned that the 401k was a good option because of the company match, which is a great idea. Make sure you're getting that. So Lisa did the same. She contributed enough to get her employer match and moved on with her life. She felt okay about it, but wasn't sure what she had signed up for and why she did it. So for the next year and a half, Lisa assumed she was doing everything right. She was contributing to her 401k, getting the match, and wasn't thinking much beyond that. So the turning point for Lisa came when she overheard two coworkers debating out whether to max out their Roth IRAs before adding more money to their 401k. And now this is where she got confused. She thought they were the same thing. She asked one of them to explain, and she realized that for the first time, a 401k and an IRA are two completely different accounts with different contribution limits, potentially different tax treatments, and different rules. She had no idea that she could contribute to both at the same time. And around that same time, she started listening to this podcast during her commute. And after hearing a few episodes talking about retirement account types, Roth and traditional, and all the other stuff that goes into retirement savings, it finally started to click for her. So here she was. Her 401k was a traditional account, so she was planting those tax-free seeds, but she was going to owe tax on everything at the harvest, like we talked about earlier in this episode. And now she figured out that the Roth IRA meant she was going to be paying taxes on the seeds now and getting the harvest completely tax-free. So at 26 in her low tax bracket, she realized that she would honestly never have a chance to pay this low of taxes again. So she opened a Roth IRA at Fidelity, confirmed with her HR that her 401k was still active and getting that 4% contribution. And there we go. That started it off. And now once Lisa understood what she had and the two different account types and the automations that she could do, her first thing to do is to make sure her 4% contribution to her 401k kept going. And now second, she set up a monthly automatic transfer of $300 into her Roth IRA, which she planned to increase over time as her income grew. She had that in her mind already. She started the simple habit of reviewing both accounts once a month, made sure that the money was going in and the investments were happening. Nothing obsessive or overwhelming. She just wanted to stay connected with what her money was doing, and she stopped thinking of retirement savings as a checkbox and started thinking of it as an ongoing part of her money life and dealing with money. So now, here we are 6 months later, and Lisa has over $2,100 sitting in her Roth IRA, growing completely tax-free. Combined with her 401k balance that's now including that employer match, it looks like she has actual money that's potentially going to make it to retirement. It feels like a real option now. She's getting excited. And now, here's the real exciting part for you. You may hear $2,100 and think that's not that much, but it's not going to stay at $2,100. Let's assume a 7% average rate of return. That $2,100 could roughly grow to $21,000 by the time she turns 60 without adding a single other dollar. And now no one's going to do that. So let's say she continues the $300 monthly contribution and doesn't even increase it over time. Well, now over that same 34-year period until retirement, her Roth IRA will have grown to around $440,000, all completely tax-free. That's why it's so powerful to start early. But beyond just the numbers now, Lisa feels like she actually understands what she owns. And that's going to be the difference for all of you after listening to today's episode. Now you know the difference between the account types and the tax treatment. Lisa knows why she chose Roth for her IRA, and she knows that she's now getting free money from her employer match through her 401k, and now she knows she can contribute to both at the same time and adjust both individually. The real result for you listening is going to be confidence. You're going to be able to pick the retirement account that you want to use and the tax treatment that's going to be beneficial for you. The key insight here is to understand that it's okay to not be sure about your retirement account options right away. This is something that can stump every single person out there because it's such a common question because there's so many different options and it can be confusing. The retirement companies don't make this easy for us to understand because they want you to get stuck in an account with high fees and not understand what's going on. So keep it simple, make sure you're getting your employer match, and then make sure you're putting money into an IRA every single month or every single paycheck. You could even use your work's automatic payroll deduction to send money directly to your IRA. Very easy, just like a 401k contribution. So now if you want a quick win for your retirement, go start contributing to both accounts. If you have a 401k, set that contribution amount to get your employer match, and then set up an IRA to take 2 or 4% of your paycheck every single time and let it go. Use automation to your advantage, and you're going to come out on top. And I hope you enjoyed today's case study. That does it for today's episode, so we're going to wrap it all up next. The one action item for each and every one of you to do today is to make sure you're getting your full employer match and contribute to an IRA of your choice, whether it's Roth or traditional. But I want you to make sure that you're considering contributing to both accounts so that you're getting the employer match and a little bit on top into the IRA. And be sure to share today's episode with a coworker to help them understand the difference when they ask the question, should I have a 401k or a Roth IRA? Help them understand that those are different things, but they're related in a few different ways. So make sure you share today's episode with them so that they can understand their account options and the difference between Roth, traditional, after tax, and all the different tax options. And if you have any questions beyond today's episode, leave a comment on YouTube or Spotify, or send me an email. My email is in the show notes, and I would be happy to dive into this further to help you figure out exactly how you should be saving for retirement. And honestly, once you start looking at the numbers, it's completely normal for your money to start feeling like it's overwhelming. So make sure you're subscribed because next week we're going to talk about money and mental health because May is Mental Health Month. So we're going to talk about that from the aspect of money. How do you handle money? How do you make sure your mental health is okay while you're trying to figure all of this out? Because money can be a stressful topic. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss next week's episode. And thank you for listening to this week's episode of Financial Planning for Young Adults. I'm your host, Skylar Fleming. Have a great week. And hey, quick heads up. This podcast, it's meant to be educational and it's for entertainment purposes. It's not personalized financial advice for your specific situation. So before you go out and make any big money moves, make sure you chat with a qualified financial professional who knows your full financial picture.